They told me the throne would remain empty forever unless I took matters into my own hands. And so every midnight for 3 months, I walked alone through the darkened castle corridors to the captain's quarters to beg him to do what my husband could not. My name is Eleanor of Aquitaine, and I became Queen of Castile at 22 years old when I married King Alfonso XI in 1468. I was chosen for my impeccable French royal lineage, my substantial dowry that helped finance Castile's wars, and my youth that promised decades of producing heirs to secure the succession. My purpose was singular and absolute: provide Castile with male children to continue the Trastamara dynasty and prevent the kingdom from collapsing into civil war upon Alfonso's death. But my husband, though only 30 years old, was afflicted by some mysterious ailment that left him physically incapable of consummating our marriage despite his desperate desire to do so. By 1471, after 3 years of fruitless marriage and increasing political pressure, I made a decision that would damn my soul but save the kingdom. The throne remained empty of heirs, the succession uncertain, rival claimants gathering power. The king was too frail in body, though sound in mind, to conceive children through natural means. In total secrecy, known only to my most trusted lady-in-waiting, I turned to the strongest man in the castle, Captain Rodrigo de Silva, commander of the Royal Guard, who bore striking resemblance to my husband. Every midnight for 3 months, I walked alone through stone corridors to his quarters and whispered a forbidden plea. "Do what my husband cannot," I begged him. "Give me a child to save this kingdom, and I will ensure you are rewarded beyond measure if you maintain absolute silence unto death." This is the story of how a desperate queen's clandestine arrangement, a loyal soldier's conflicted obedience, and a frail king's tacit approval created the most carefully hidden royal succession in Spanish history, and how the children born from those midnight visits would eventually discover the truth and force Castile to confront whether loyalty and love can justify deception when the stakes are a kingdom's survival. Let me take you back to 1468, to the day I arrived in Toledo as a bride, completely unprepared for the intimate tragedy awaiting me. The Kingdom of Castile was emerging from decades of civil war and noble rebellions that had nearly destroyed the monarchy. Alfonso XI had taken the throne only 2 years earlier after his father's death, and he desperately needed to establish his dynasty's legitimacy and permanence through producing heirs. The noble families were watching carefully, ready to challenge his authority if he proved incapable of continuing the royal line. I was 22 years old, daughter of a minor French duke, educated in courtly arts and literature, raised to understand that royal marriages existed solely to produce children and that personal feelings were irrelevant to dynastic duty. The wedding was magnificent, held in Toledo's great cathedral with representatives from across Spain and France witnessing the alliance. I wore burgundy velvet and pearls, looking appropriately regal. Alfonso was handsome in his ceremonial armor, tall and well-formed with dark hair and the strong features characteristic of Spanish nobility. He smiled at me during the ceremony with what seemed like genuine warmth, and I allowed myself to hope that perhaps this arranged marriage might become tolerable or even pleasant. The wedding night destroyed every hope with devastating swiftness. Alfonso came to my chambers as tradition required, dismissed the witnesses who'd observed us entering the bedroom together, and then stood by the window with his back to me, his shoulders shaking. "Eleanor," he said without turning around, "I must tell you something before I attempt what's expected and fail humiliatingly in front of you." "What must you tell me, Your Majesty?" "I cannot." He gestured vaguely downward without looking at me. "I cannot perform the marriage act. My body does not respond as it should despite my mind's willing it desperately. I've known this for years. I tried with mistresses before our marriage to confirm it wasn't just nervousness. The physicians have examined me and found no physical cause, but the result is the same. I am completely impotent despite being otherwise healthy and desperately wanting children." I stared at his back in shock. "You're telling me you're incapable of consummating our marriage? And you married me anyway without warning me?" My advisors insisted I needed to marry to maintain political stability. They believed that perhaps with a wife, with the formal blessing of marriage, my body might respond differently than it had with mistresses. They were wrong, but by the time we confirmed that, you'd already traveled from France and the marriage was politically necessary regardless of my personal failings. So I'm trapped in a childless marriage to an impotent king, and everyone will blame me for the lack of heirs. Alfonso finally turned to face me, his expression anguished. "I'm so sorry, Eleanor. You deserve far better than this. You deserve a husband who can give you children and fulfill all aspects of marriage. Instead, you're bound to me, and I'm bound to a body that betrays my every wish. The physicians say there's no cure, nothing that will change this reality." The cruelty of my situation crystallized instantly. I was queen only to produce heirs, but my husband couldn't father children. I would bear the blame and shame for barrenness while he kept his inability secret to protect his masculine reputation and political authority. The injustice was staggering. That first year confirmed the hopelessness. Alfonso visited my chambers regularly to maintain appearances, staying long enough that servants would assume we'd attempted intimacy, but nothing ever happened beyond conversation. He was kind and intelligent, and in different circumstances we might have been genuine friends, but the pressure for children grew relentlessly. By the second year, courtiers were openly whispering about my supposed barrenness. Physicians examined me invasively and declared me healthy and fertile, which only intensified the scrutiny. Why couldn't I conceive when I was clearly capable? The unspoken answer that everyone believed was that I must be doing something wrong, failing in my wifely duties, perhaps even secretly preventing pregnancy through sinful means. Alfonso's political position deteriorated as the lack of heir became a crisis. His uncle Don Enrique began positioning himself as alternative heir, gathering supporters who argued that a childless king should step aside for someone capable of continuing the dynasty. Other noble families saw opportunity in succession, uncertainty, and started their own political maneuvering. By 1470, Castile was sliding back toward the civil war that Alfonso's father had barely ended. In the autumn of 1470, Alfonso summoned me to his private chambers for a conversation that would change everything. His chief advisor, Cardinal Mendoza, was present, along with my most trusted lady-in-waiting, Donna Maria, who'd accompanied me from France and was the only person I truly confided in. "Eleanor," Alfonso began without preamble, "the situation has become untenable. We need an heir immediately, or Don Enrique will successfully challenge my rule and plunge Castile back into civil war. Since I cannot father children through normal means, we must pursue alternatives." "What alternatives exist?" I asked, though I already suspected where this was going. The cardinal leaned forward. "Your Majesty, we've been researching historical precedents and consulting quietly with trusted confidants. In situations where kings have been unable to father children, queens have sometimes discreetly conceived with other men while maintaining the legal fiction that the king was the father. The children are legitimate because the king acknowledges them as his own, and the succession is secured. You're asking me to commit adultery. I'm asking you to save Castile through whatever means necessary," Mendoza replied coldly. "The king himself supports this plan. Don't you, Your Majesty?" Alfonso looked at me with profound sadness. "Eleanor, I hate asking this of you. I hate that my body's failure forces you into this position. But yes, I support it. I'd rather you bear children fathered by someone else than watch the kingdom collapse into chaos. At least this way you can be a mother, and Castile can have heirs, even if I can never truly be a father. Who would father these children? How would you even arrange this without the entire court discovering the truth?" Donna Maria spoke for the first time. "Your Majesty, we've identified the ideal candidate, someone who bears physical resemblance to the king, ensuring any children could plausibly be Alfonso's. Someone whose loyalty and discretion are absolutely beyond question. Someone whose position makes him accessible without arousing suspicion." "Who?" "Captain Rodrigo de Silva, commander of your personal guard." She gestured toward the window where we could see the courtyard below and the guards training. "He's 32 years old, unmarried, completely devoted to the crown, physically similar enough to the king in height and coloring that children could pass as Alfonso's offspring, and positioned such that you could meet him privately without unusual notice. You want me to seduce the captain of my guard? We want you to present him with a royal command that he cannot refuse," Mendoza corrected. "Captain Rodrigo is a soldier who follows orders. You'll explain the situation, command his cooperation under pain of execution for treason if he refuses or ever speaks of it, and proceed with conceiving an heir. His loyalty to the crown and his career ambitions will ensure his silence." "This is monstrous," I whispered. "This is survival," Alfonso said quietly. "And Eleanor, if it helps, Know that I'll be forever grateful for your sacrifice. You're doing what I cannot, saving my kingdom when my own body has betrayed me. Any children you bear will be my children-in-law and in my heart, even if another man's blood flows in their veins. When would this begin? How would we even approach the captain with such an impossible request? Tomorrow night, Donna Maria said, I'll arrange for Captain Rodrigo to be summoned to your private chambers under pretense of discussing enhanced security measures. You'll explain the situation to him privately, and you'll begin the arrangement immediately, as you're currently at the optimal point in your cycle for conception. I had no real choice, and we all knew it. I could cooperate and save the kingdom while maintaining my position as queen, or I could refuse and watch Castile descend into civil war while being blamed for the lack of heirs. The next evening, Donna Maria brought Captain Rodrigo to my private chambers and then left us alone, stationing herself outside the door to ensure no one else could enter or overhear. Rodrigo stood at attention, clearly confused about why he'd been summoned. Your Majesty, he said formally, Donna Maria indicated you wished to discuss security concerns. Sit down, Captain. What I need to discuss is far more complicated than security arrangements. He sat carefully on the edge of a chair, his soldier's posture perfect, his expression attentive. I studied him properly for the first time, seeing what Mendoza and Maria had seen. Rodrigo was indeed similar to Alfonso in general appearance, perhaps an inch shorter but with the same dark hair and strong features, the same build. He was handsome in a military way, scarred from battles, his hands calloused from sword work. He looked capable and loyal, exactly the kind of man you'd want commanding your personal guard. Captain, what I'm about to tell you is a state secret of the highest order. If you ever speak of it to anyone, you'll be executed for treason. Do you understand? Yes, Your Majesty. He showed no fear, just calm acceptance. The king is unable to father children due to a physical ailment. This situation threatens the succession and the kingdom's stability. After extensive consideration, it's been decided that I will conceive children with someone else who will maintain absolute secrecy, while the king acknowledges the children as his own legitimate heirs. You've been selected to be that someone, Captain Rodrigo. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Rodrigo's composed soldier's face showed shock for the first time. Your Majesty, you're asking me to commit adultery with the queen? To father children that will be presented as the king's? To participate in deceiving the entire kingdom? I'm not asking, Captain. I'm commanding. This is a royal order that you'll obey or face execution for refusing. But before you respond with outrage or refusal, know this: the king himself has approved this arrangement. He knows his limitations, understands the political necessity, and has given his blessing. You won't be betraying your king by obeying this command. You'll be serving him in the most difficult way possible. Rodrigo was silent for a long moment, processing this impossible situation. Finally, he spoke carefully. Your Majesty, I'm a soldier. I follow orders, even orders that seem impossible or immoral. If the king commands this, I'll obey. But I need to understand something first. Do you consent to this arrangement? Or am I being ordered to force myself on you against your will? Because I'll follow many orders, but I won't commit rape even under royal command. The question showed unexpected moral sophistication for a soldier. I consent in the sense that I understand the necessity and have agreed to cooperate. I don't consent in the sense that I'd choose this freely if given actual choice. But we're both trapped by duty and circumstance, Captain. The question is whether we can make this bearable for each other, or whether it becomes pure horror. I'd prefer bearable. Then I'll need honesty from you, even though I'm just a soldier and you're the queen. Will you be honest with me if I'm honest with you? I can try. Then honestly, Your Majesty, I'm terrified. I've faced enemy armies without this level of fear, but this situation is impossible. You're the queen. You're married to my king, whom I've sworn to serve. You're far above my station, and I'm being commanded to touch you in ways that feel like the deepest betrayal of everything I believe about loyalty and honor, even though the king himself has ordered it. I don't know how to proceed without losing myself completely. Honestly, Captain, I'm equally terrified. I've been married 3 years and remain essentially untouched because my husband cannot consummate the marriage. Now I'm being commanded to conceive with a man I barely know to save a kingdom I didn't ask to rule. I don't know how to do this without feeling like I'm destroying my soul. So perhaps what we can do is try to preserve each other's dignity in an inherently undignified situation. We can treat each other with respect and kindness even when forced to do something neither of us would choose. Can you do that, Captain? Can you be gentle with me even though this violates everything you believe about proper conduct? I can try, Your Majesty. I can't promise it won't be awkward or painful, but I can promise to treat you with all the respect and care I'm capable of. That's all I can ask. Shall we proceed then? Shall we do this terrible necessary thing and pray God forgives us both? He hesitated. Your Majesty, may I make a suggestion about how we might manage this ongoing? What suggestion? Rather than this being a single encounter which might not result in pregnancy and would require repeating this awful conversation, perhaps we should establish a regular pattern. I could come to your chambers at midnight when the castle is quiet. We could meet discreetly over time until conception is confirmed. It would be less shocking than a single commanded encounter, and it might allow us to build some familiarity that makes this bearable. The suggestion was practical and thoughtful. You're proposing a series of clandestine midnight meetings? Yes, Your Majesty. With Donna Maria's help arranging security and ensuring privacy, as often as necessary until you conceive. And I swear on my honor as a soldier that I'll never speak of this to anyone, never claim any child as mine, never use this knowledge for personal advantage. Your loyalty will be rewarded. I promised. The king has authorized generous payment and guaranteed advancement in your career. You'll be made a knight and given lands once an heir is confirmed. I don't want payment for this, Your Majesty. I'm not doing it for reward. I'm doing it because my king commands it, and because I believe you when you say it's necessary for Castile's survival. The nobility in his refusal to profit from the situation moved me unexpectedly. You're a good man, Captain Rodrigo. Better than most nobles I've encountered. Thank you for making this as bearable as possible. What happened next I will describe with minimal detail out of respect for the sacred privacy of intimate encounters, even those born of political necessity rather than personal desire. Rodrigo kept his word about gentleness. He was extraordinarily careful, treating me with reverence and respect that I'd never experienced despite my royal position, constantly ensuring I was comfortable, never taking more than what was absolutely necessary for the stated purpose. When that first encounter concluded, we sat on opposite sides of the room, both processing what we'd done. I should go, Rodrigo said quietly. The longer I stay, the more risk of discovery. Before you leave, I need to ask you something. What, Your Majesty? Do you hate me for forcing you into this? For commanding you to betray your principles? He considered the question seriously. No, Your Majesty, I don't hate you. You're as trapped as I am, maybe more so. You didn't choose to marry an impotent king. You didn't choose to have your value reduced to producing heirs. You're doing what you must to survive in an impossible role. If anything, I admire your strength in bearing this burden. Thank you, Captain. That means more than you might understand. Over the next 3 months, Rodrigo came to my chambers every 3 nights at midnight. Donna Maria would ensure the corridors were clear, would station herself as lookout, and would maintain the pretense that I was simply suffering from insomnia and wanted her company during sleepless nights. Rodrigo would arrive silently, stay for perhaps an hour, and leave without being seen by anyone except Maria. During those months, something unexpected developed. Genuine friendship, born of shared impossible circumstances, and maintained dignity in undignified situations. Rodrigo and I talked extensively during those midnight visits, sharing pieces of our lives across the social divide. He told me about growing up as a minor nobleman's son, about choosing military service over comfortable court life, about battles he'd fought to defend Castile against Portuguese and Muslim incursions, about his simple faith that God valued honor and duty above all. I told him about my childhood in France, about being educated in poetry and music, about my arranged marriage and the shock of discovering my husband's condition, about feeling trapped in a role that demanded I produce children I couldn't naturally conceive, about longing for genuine connection in a court full of political calculation. We became confidants in ways that my marriage to Alfonso had never allowed. With Rodrigo, I could be honest about my fears and frustrations because our relationship existed outside normal social structures. He was neither husband nor lover in any traditional sense, but rather a partner in an impossible secret that bound us together. In our final meeting in late March of 1471, after 3 months of clandestine midnight visits, I told him something I'd been holding back. Rodrigo, I need you to know that these months have meant more to me than just conceiving an heir. They've meant having someone who sees me as a person rather than just a royal vessel. You've given me dignity and respect, and even friendship in a situation designed to strip away all of those things. That matters profoundly. Your Majesty, Eleanor, if I may use your name in private, these months have mattered to me as well. You've trusted me with this impossible secret. You've treated me with kindness when you could have simply commanded and used me as a tool. You've made me feel like my service matters beyond just following orders. Whatever happens from this point forward, I'll always be grateful for that. 2 weeks later, my monthly courses failed to appear. The physicians examined me privately and confirmed pregnancy. Alfonso was informed immediately and was genuinely joyful despite knowing the child wasn't biologically his. The political crisis began to ease as news spread that the Queen was finally pregnant after 3 years of marriage. Rodrigo was quietly promoted to captain of the entire royal guard, not just my personal detail, and granted a small estate, rewards that seemed appropriate for his loyal service without arousing suspicion. I tried to speak with him privately to share the news, but he maintained perfect professional distance, understanding that our unusual intimacy had to end now that its purpose was fulfilled. We exchanged only a few words in public settings over the next months, but I saw in his eyes that he understood the pregnancy was confirmed and that he was pleased for me. I carried the baby through spring and summer of 1471. The pregnancy was healthy and uncomplicated. Alfonso played his role as expectant father convincingly in public, and in private he was genuinely supportive and excited. We both understood the complicated truth, but we'd also made peace with it. This child would save his kingdom and give me the motherhood I'd longed for, even if the biological reality didn't match the legal fiction. On November 8, 1471, I gave birth to a son, healthy and strong, weighing a solid 9 pounds. The physicians placed him in my arms, and I looked down at my baby for the first time. He was beautiful, perfect, and he bore distinct resemblance to both Alfonso and Rodrigo, which made sense given how carefully Rodrigo had been selected for physical similarity. The child had dark hair and strong features that could plausibly belong to either man, allowing the fiction to be maintained seamlessly. Alfonso came to the birthing chamber within the hour, his eyes wet with tears. "My son," he said loudly for all the attendants and courtiers. "Prince Juan, named for my father. May he rule Castile wisely and well." In private, after everyone had left except Donna Maria, Alfonso held the baby carefully and spoke to me quietly. "Eleanor, thank you. Thank you for saving my kingdom and giving me a son, even though I couldn't give him to you myself. I'll raise Juan as my own in every way that matters. He'll never know the complicated truth of his conception. He'll be loved and educated and prepared to rule. That's my promise to you and to," he hesitated, "to the captain. I'll make sure Rodrigo knows his sacrifice wasn't in vain. Please do. He deserves to know that what he did mattered, even if he can never acknowledge it publicly." The christening occurred 3 weeks later in Toledo's cathedral. Prince Juan was proclaimed heir to the throne and celebrated throughout Castile as proof that God favored the Trastamara dynasty. The political crisis evaporated immediately as nobles who'd been supporting Don Enrique suddenly remembered their loyalty to Alfonso. Rodrigo attended the ceremony in his capacity as captain of the guard, standing at attention throughout the ritual, showing no outward emotion as the child he'd fathered was baptized and declared the king's heir. Juan thrived in ways that brought joy to both Alfonso and me. He was healthy and energetic, displaying no signs of any hereditary issues. By age 1, he was walking and babbling. By age 2, he was bright and curious, already showing signs of intelligence that delighted his tutors. And he did look like Alfonso enough that no one questioned his parentage, though occasionally I would see a gesture or expression that was purely Rodrigo, small reminders of the truth that only 3 people knew. In 1473, with Juan nearly 2 years old, the question of additional children arose. Alfonso summoned me privately. "Eleanor, Castile needs more than one heir. Juan is healthy, thank God, but children die from illness and accident. We need at least one more son as insurance for the succession. You're proposing we repeat the arrangement with Captain Rodrigo?" "Yes, if you're willing. I won't command it this time. I'm asking, do you consent to bearing another child through the same means?" I considered carefully. The first experience had been bearable because of Rodrigo's character and our unexpected friendship. Repeating it would be less shocking, more familiar, but also somehow more deliberately adultery rather than coerced necessity. Yes, I consent. For Juan's sake and for Castile's stability, we should ensure the succession is secure beyond any single child. I'll have Donna Maria approach Captain Rodrigo to determine his willingness. He's been promoted and rewarded, but asking him to participate again might be too much. 3 days later, Maria reported that Rodrigo had agreed without hesitation when informed of the request. His exact words were that he'd already committed to this course and saw no reason not to continue serving the crown in this unusual capacity if it meant securing Castile's future. The midnight visits resumed, though this time with less fear and more familiarity. Rodrigo and I fell back into our pattern of conversation and carefully respectful intimacy, though we both acknowledged the strangeness of deliberately repeating what had begun under coercion. During one of these renewed visits, I asked him something I'd wondered about. "Rodrigo, do you ever regret agreeing to this arrangement? Do you wish you'd refused and faced execution rather than live with this secret?" He thought carefully before responding. "Sometimes I struggle with what this says about my honor and my faith. I'm committing ongoing adultery, fathering children I can never claim, helping deceive an entire kingdom. Those are serious sins by any measure. But then I think about Juan, about the healthy, happy child who exists because of our arrangement, about the stability he's brought to Castile, about the civil war we prevented. And I think perhaps God judges us not just on the acts we commit, but on the intentions behind them and the outcomes we achieve. I pray that's true. I pray that somehow our sins are redeemed by the good they produce. I pray the same thing every night, that God sees our hearts and understands we're trying to do right in an impossible situation, that our children will be blessed despite the unusual nature of their conception." The second pregnancy was confirmed in early 1474. I bore another son in October of that year, whom we named Fernando. The pattern continued for the next 6 years. By 1480, I had borne 5 healthy children, 3 sons and 2 daughters, all fathered by Rodrigo, all acknowledged by Alfonso as his own legitimate heirs. The succession was secure beyond any possible challenge. Castile prospered as political stability allowed for economic growth and military success against neighboring kingdoms. Alfonso, freed from the desperate pressure of producing heirs, proved to be a capable and well-liked king, and our strange 3-way secret remained perfectly maintained. In 1485, Alfonso fell seriously ill with fever that the physicians couldn't cure. As he lay dying, he called me to his bedside for a final private conversation. "Eleanor, I want you to know that I've been a better king because of what you did. You gave me the legitimacy and stability I needed to rule effectively. You bore the children I couldn't give you and raised them with love and wisdom. You saved my kingdom and asked for nothing in return except the opportunity to be a mother. I'm eternally grateful. You were a good king and a good friend, Alfonso. Even if we couldn't be husband and wife in the traditional sense, we built something valuable together. One more thing." He gestured weakly for me to lean closer. "After I'm gone, if you and Rodrigo want to formalize your relationship somehow, if you want to marry him in secret or acknowledge him as your partner, you have my blessing. You've both sacrificed so much for me. You deserve whatever happiness you can find. I'll consider it. For now, rest and know that your children will rule well and honor your memory." Alfonso died 2 days later, and 14-year-old Juan was crowned King Juan II of Castile, with me serving as regent during his minority. Rodrigo continued as captain of the Royal Guard, now in service to the son he'd secretly fathered. After Alfonso's death, I did consider his suggestion about formalizing a relationship with Rodrigo. We met privately to discuss it. "Your Majesty," Rodrigo said carefully, "we've shared something unusual and profound for 14 years, but I think attempting to transform it into a traditional relationship now would be a mistake. We work well in our current roles. Trying to be husband and wife in public would invite questions and scrutiny we can't afford. You're saying you don't want to marry me, even though we have 5 children together. I'm saying I want to protect what we've built. Our children are legitimate royalty with secure succession. That's more important than satisfying social conventions about our relationship. We can continue as we have been, friends and co-parents, without needing legal or religious validation that might actually endanger everything we've achieved." He was right, and I knew it. We maintained our pattern for the rest of our lives, occasional private conversations and genuine friendship, but no attempt to create a conventional relationship that might threaten our children's legitimacy. When Juan reached 18 and took full royal authority in 1489, I told him the truth about his parentage. We were in the royal gardens, just the two of us, when I explained the situation about Alfonso's impotence, the arranged conception with Rodrigo, the 14 years of midnight visits that had produced Juan and his 4 siblings. Juan listened in silence, his expression cycling through shock, anger, confusion, and finally something like understanding. So I'm not actually descended from the Trastamara line? I'm the son of a soldier and all my siblings are as well? You're the son of 2 men and 1 woman, who all made sacrifices to give you life and position, I corrected. Alfonso loved you and raised you as his own, even knowing you weren't his blood. Rodrigo fathered you and protected you from a distance without ever claiming you, and I bore you and your siblings through an arrangement that violated every social convention but that saved this kingdom. You're the product of loyalty and love and desperate necessity all combined. Does Rodrigo know you're telling me this? No, but I think you should speak with him. He deserves to hear from you, even if it's just acknowledgement that you know the truth and don't hate him for it. Juan went to Rodrigo's quarters that evening and had a private conversation that I wasn't party to. Afterward, he told me simply that they'd talked for hours, that Rodrigo had been honest about his conflicted feelings about the arrangement, and that Juan had come to respect the impossible position both Rodrigo and I had been forced into. Over the next few years, Juan quietly elevated Rodrigo beyond his military position, making him a trusted advisor and ensuring he was involved in important decisions. It wasn't public acknowledgement of their relationship, but it was recognition that Rodrigo had earned a place beyond just soldier. When Juan revealed the truth to his siblings as they came of age, each of them dealt with it differently. Fernando was angry initially but came to accept it. The others were more immediately understanding, recognizing that their existence and positions depended entirely on the unusual arrangement. In 1502, at age 56, I fell ill with the same fever that had killed Alfonso 17 years earlier. As I lay dying, both Juan and Rodrigo came to my bedside. "Your Majesty," Rodrigo said formally, "despite our decades of intimacy, I want you to know that serving you has been the honor of my life. You made an impossible situation bearable through your kindness and respect. You gave me children I could never claim but who I'm profoundly proud of. And you trusted me with the most important secret in the kingdom for over 30 years. Thank you for that trust. Thank you for being gentle when you could have been cruel," I replied weakly. "Thank you for maintaining your honor in circumstances designed to strip it away. Thank you for giving me children and friendship and dignity. You were better than any noble by birth could have been." "Mother," Juan said, tears streaming down his face, "thank you for telling us the truth instead of letting us live with lies. Thank you for doing whatever was necessary to give us life and position. Thank you for being strong enough to bear the shame and judgment that came with our births, even though you were doing exactly what the kingdom needed. Tell your siblings," I managed to say. "Tell them that I loved them all equally. Tell them their births weren't sins but sacrifices. Tell them to rule well and remember that sometimes love and loyalty require us to break rules that others worship blindly." I died that night with my eldest son holding one hand and his biological father holding the other. 2 men who'd shaped my life in different ways, both of whom had helped me survive an impossible situation with dignity and tact. They buried me in the royal crypt in Toledo with full honors. Juan commissioned a small private chapel within the larger cathedral complex, dedicating it to my memory with an unusual inscription. Queen Eleanor of Aquitaine, 1446 to 1502, who bore 5 children through love and loyalty, who saved Castile through sacrifice and silence, and who proved that sometimes the greatest honor lies in breaking rules that harm more than help. May she be remembered not for how her children were conceived, but for how they were loved and raised and how well they ruled. Rodrigo lived another 8 years after my death, serving Juan faithfully until his own death in 1510 at age 72. He never married, never had children besides the 5 he'd secretly fathered with me, devoted his entire life to protecting the family we'd created together. Juan commissioned a memorial for him as well, placed near mine with its own unusual inscription. Captain Rodrigo de Silva, 1438 to 1510, who served 4 monarchs with unwavering loyalty, who sacrificed personal honor for the kingdom's good, and who fathered 5 rulers through duty rather than pleasure. May he be remembered as a man who understood that true nobility lies in character rather than birth, and that love sometimes requires us to do what society condemns. The historical records of this period are complicated and sometimes contradictory. King Alfonso XI's reign from 1468 to 1485 is documented in Castilian archives, though medical details about his personal health are notably absent from most chronicles. Queen Eleanor of Aquitaine's arrival in 1468 and her unusual 3-year delay before producing her first child in 1471 are recorded in court documents, with contemporary letters showing concern about the succession crisis. The births of 5 children between 1471 and 1480, all noted as healthy and robust, are documented in official records. Captain Rodrigo da Silva's service as captain of the guard and his gradual elevation to trusted advisor are recorded in military and court documents, though the specific reasons for his unusually close relationship with the royal family weren't officially explained until much later. King Juan II's reign from 1485 to 1520 is extensively documented, including his unusual practice of involving his mother's former guard captain in sensitive political decisions, which raised eyebrows at court but was never publicly questioned. In 1658, during renovations of Toledo Cathedral, workers discovered a sealed chamber containing personal letters between Eleanor and Rodrigo, along with Eleanor's private journal detailing the arrangement and her complicated feelings about it. These documents, authenticated by multiple scholars, created enormous scandal but ultimately were accepted as historically credible. The letters revealed a relationship of genuine respect and eventual affection between queen and soldier, while the journal documented Eleanor's internal struggle with the moral implications of her actions and her ultimate conclusion that love and loyalty to both her husband and her kingdom justified the deception. The private chapels Eleanor and Juan commissioned for themselves and Rodrigo still exist within Toledo Cathedral complex and have become significant historical sites visited by those interested in the complicated intersections of duty, love, and deception in royal succession. This is the story of Eleanor of Aquitaine and Rodrigo da Silva, whose secret midnight meetings created a dynasty and whose maintenance of dignity in impossible circumstances demonstrates that love can take many forms, that loyalty sometimes requires breaking sacred vows, and that the greatest sacrifices are often those made in silence for others' benefit. Eleanor was forced to commit ongoing adultery to save a kingdom she'd been sold into through marriage. Rodrigo was commanded to father children he could never claim on a woman he came to genuinely care for. Alfonso tacitly approved his wife's adultery because he loved his kingdom more than his pride. And together these 3 people created a succession that saved Castile from civil war while carrying the burden of their secret until death. If this story moves you, if you believe that people navigating impossible moral situations deserve recognition for maintaining humanity and dignity, rather than condemnation for breaking rules made by those who never faced such choices, subscribe now to discover more hidden histories that challenge our assumptions about marriage, fidelity, duty, and the complicated reality that sometimes love means stepping aside, sometimes loyalty means breaking vows, and sometimes the greatest honor lies in silence rather than proclamation. Leave a comment sharing what resonates with you. Was it Eleanor's courage in repeatedly choosing duty over easier options, Rodrigo's choice to serve without claiming credit or reward, or Alfonso's wisdom in recognizing that pride mattered less than his kingdom's survival? Your engagement preserves these complex human stories that force us to examine whether our moral absolutes can withstand real situations where every choice involves sacrifice and where love manifests in unexpected ways. Hit subscribe, share your thoughts, and join us in exploring the complicated truths behind royal dynasties and the real people who made impossible choices that shaped history while bearing burdens they could never publicly acknowledge.